Hey everyone, this is James from Brewing Books. It's a welcome back to me after an admittedly long absence on this channel. But as I always say, I'm still here. I still keep reading your comments and replying to them whenever I have the time. These last few days were occupied by my visit to Oxenmoot, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It was a fantastic event in which I presented a paper and got to meet some fantastic people as well, including Brian Sibley himself, which was to me the highlight of the whole event. And just as it so happens, today I received from HarperCollins the anticipated The Hobbit in Deluxe and Standard illustrated editions. This is in fact a first for me, that I've received Tolkien books, and not just Tolkien books but also books in general, before the actual publication and release date. In fact, these should be available from the 14th or the 19th of September. So it's a great treat for me, and hopefully for you as well watching this video, to know a bit more about these two particular editions. So let's dive straight into the unboxings. So both the Standard and Deluxe editions of The Hobbit form part of the illustrated by the author editions that have been released in the last year or so for both the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings. In fact, we have the complete text of The Hobbit presented in the respective editions format. In the case of the Standard edition, we have the dust jacket with Tolkien's own designs embedded on the cover. The green, very synonymous with the Shire and hobbits in general, complements this exterior aesthetic, accompanied by the dwarfish runes on the top and bottom here, enclosing the image of the Lonely Mountain and Smaug on top of it. Let's also not forget the nice touch of including the author's name as the author's own signature. We see this same aesthetic transferred to a certain extent also to the deluxe edition here, with this dark green solid color on the slipcase and these gorgeous gold-foiled runes and dragon. And as we extract the book from its case, we see a very similar format to the deluxe editions of The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, with the solid black cover and the replicated imagery from the standard editions. Now, as I've said in the previous videos for the other books, I have a soft spot for this minimalist aesthetic in the deluxe editions. Besides, the slipcase gives these books a sense of weight, both literal and symbolic, to the writings contained in your hands. Now, this is not taking anything away from the Standard edition, which in my opinion is a superbly beautiful edition in its own right. But perhaps you're guessing now where we're going with this. These illustrated by the author Standard editions seem to be plagued by the inclusion of these solid colors along the sides of the pages, and pasted on top is some rune or Tengwar inscription. The same was done with The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, and here again we have the same with the Hobbit Standard edition. Not the highlight of this copy, but it's an aesthetic choice made by the publishers nonetheless. So let's take a look at the inside of both editions. As I keep saying, both Standard and Deluxe editions contain virtually the same content, text, maps, etc., even the illustrations themselves. The only difference perhaps is usually the way these are presented in each edition. So both editions present the reader with the story of The Hobbit, including over 50 illustrations and sketches made by Tolkien to accompany the tale. Both editions are printed in two colors, as we can see here. Both contain Thorin'S map and the Map of Wilderland. And whilst I like the production of such maps, especially at this scale, they somehow feel cheap in the way they are just tagged on into the book without some sort of slip-in folder at the back of the book or anything similar. And this is something which is recurrent in many recent deluxe editions, unfortunately. The reproduction and binding quality which is shown for both editions appears to be good so far. No issues with the gold foil stamping, misprints or any yellow-hued pages. Even the quality of the paper itself is thick, robust and of good quality, as I said. The Deluxe is also quarter-bound in green leather and has the typical raised ribs on the spine. Now, besides the difference in look, the Deluxe edition offers what HarperCollins is referring to as bonus features. This printed art card which reproduces Tolkien's original dust jacket painting, which I think is a lovely touch. Also included in the Deluxe edition is this rather wonderful edition, which is Thorin'S letter to Bilbo in Tengwar. And anyone interested in a translation will have to consult the 88-page booklet, which comes together with this Deluxe edition and includes insights and information about The Hobbit and other works that were influenced or are somehow related to The Hobbit itself. And a really lovely addition to this booklet is the inclusion of Tolkien's lecture on dragons, which I had been wanting to find a copy of for quite a while now. And I know they had released it with the 3D lenticular version of The Hobbit. I always felt like I missed out on that, given that I don't have that particular edition, but here it is again in all its glory, so this will be a truly wonderful read. Again, the downside is that it feels like there's no care in making these as presentable and accessible as possible, even if at an extra cost to the book if necessary. Anyway, having said all this, these are remarkable editions which HarperCollins keeps releasing on an almost yearly or monthly basis now. And, this is something I really wanted to do. So let's place our copies of The Hobbit next to the Silmarillion and The Lord of the Rings, illustrated by the author. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, keep those comments and likes and shares. I really appreciate all the input. In the meantime, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.